And I guess there are many projects moving into the metaverse space at present. We can see that in Web3 and blockchain. There's also some very big corporations moving into the space too, and that's they'll bring some amazing technology with them, I'm sure, but it is also a little bit alarming, a little bit concerning. I'm sure that they will also bring their existing business practices into the metaverse and ways for them to capitalize on that, make the most money for the shareholder, for the company, and not for the consumer or for the player, as I like to refer to them to. The massive growth that we had with Earth 2, I was kind of quickly exposed to that high level corporate world, exposed to people who have influence in the world almost. I've always had experience with business and corporate background in the past, but not quite on this level. And it was that exposure to that world, I think, that really made me think about what we have with Earth 2 and what we could do, what we could achieve with the platform that we're building. And it was actually a lot of those initial discussions that kind of I have resisted investment coming into Earth 2 from these guys. And I'm talking about billionaires, I'm talking about BCs, not BCs, not battle cruisers from StarCraft. I'm talking about billionaires, and I'm talking about venture capitalists, very influential people who had, that great people, but they had plans. These type of people have plans to capitalize on the players and not for the players. And then that just goes against what I believe. So I made a massive personal sacrifice, I guess, around that time, kind of moving away from those opportunities. I guess had I made that decision, probably could have retired multiple times over and let them take over. I would just remain in places like a kind of puppet, I suppose. But I ended up frustrating a few people, I'll have to say, and because I didn't agree with what they wanted to do with Earth 2. But I knew long term the players would lose. And the players wouldn't be able to get that control and the power that I wanted them to have in Earth 2 had I made those decisions. So, still here, battling away. Right now, as many of you know, we are a centralized platform, so all of the ownership of land and everything, it's all centralized right now. However, we have made public announcements. We've published news articles on our website, which have gone out as press releases around the world and have been acknowledged by various places regarding the Polygon partnership as well. So we have announced steps to become decentralized or work heavily towards the initial steps of decentralization in 2022, which is wonderful, something that I stand very strongly for. And that's something that will progress progressively over this year, and we'll see players, after we launch our token, we'll see players be able to slowly mint their land and have that on-chain. So at the moment it's off-chain and centralized, but the players will be able to have that on-chain. They'll have irrefutable ownership of their land tiles, the land that they own inside of Earth 2, and we're very heavily committed to doing that. So yeah, the way Earth 2 works at the moment, of course, players can come on, they can buy tiles or land on the platform that are geolocationally linked back to from Earth 2 into the real world locations. And I just want to say quickly, so a lot of the land on Earth 2 is actually, it's depending which country you want to buy, and it's relatively cheap. It's like $5 or $10 for a decent sized property of new land, depending where you want to buy. Of course, countries like America are a little bit more expensive, and then you have like the player-to-player trading, which has nothing to do with us. That trade, they can sell their land for whatever they want to whoever wants to buy it. So if somebody wants to pay, they want to pay more money for a specific location, they do that. And I guess one of the biggest examples inside of Earth 2 was the Statue of Liberty, the area around the Statue of Liberty that sold player to player for $60,000, 60,000 dollars, which is equivalent to 60,000 US dollars. And that's not us selling the land to them. That's a player who got in early, bought that land and sold it to somebody else. Now, that person wanted to own that land, the person who bought it, they wanted to own it. So this is how it's operating at the moment with player-to-player, these player-to-player sales and opportunities for players to sell things to each other, and I'll be continuing that on in the long term. And just on that, like, location inside Earth 2 is also important. I just point out that, if you have somewhere like the Statue of Liberty, as we gain more and more traction, of course, people who enter Earth 2 will wonder what in Earth 2, what is where the Statue of Liberty is. It's a global recognized landmark, so people will go there and they will want to know what's there. And we also have that intention of being able to link people who are physically at the Statue of Liberty into what's happening in Earth 2 in that area as well. So there are reasons to own those more popular areas, but there are also reasons in the long-term ecosystem goals that we have for Earth 2 to own properties in lesser known countries as well. So the game design that we're working on will be beneficial in a lot of different ways, I suppose. And that's, we're not twisting anybody's arm to come and buy land. We're not forcing. You don't have to buy land to sign up, for example. You can sign up for free. And then later this year, we will be introducing the first free-to-play gameplay. So you don't have to buy any land. It'll be free to play. We'll be introducing methods for people to sign up. They don't have to spend a cent. They don't have to spend anything, but they will be able to play the game and start doing things with other players, collaborating with probably landowners, and they'll be able to earn currency inside the game where they can then build things up for free. They can get that currency and they can do cool things with it. They could buy droids, they could look at purchasing things that will help lead them up to being able to own their own properties. There's a lot of different things that they can do. So really excited about introducing the free-to-play later this year. And actually I'm personally heavily focused on, I'm actually kind of pretty much obsessed with creating opportunities in gameplay for creative players. So players that can be creative and then they can sell their creativity to other players. That's really, really important to us. So this is not like us creating things and selling everything in game to you as the player, as it kind of traditionally works. So as many of you know, the way that game platforms traditionally work is you have one centralized owner of the platform. Give it, League of Legends or Fortnite or whatever it may be. You can, in League of Legends example, you can purchase a champion. You can also earn them as well sometimes through various gameplay, but if there's a specific champion that you want, you have to purchase it or you have to play the game a lot to get that champion. And you can buy different skins for that champion, have different experiences. Fortnite, you can get different skins and you represent it in different ways inside the game. But when you buy those digital assets, when you buy those directly link back to your account, but you can't sell it to other players. So you can't modify it, you certainly can't create the thing from scratch, which is kind of what we're doing in Earth 2, which is already evident today. I'll talk about that in a moment, but you're not able to sell those assets, those digital assets, once you purchase them in-game. And that is something that I don't strongly believe in. I think buying a digital asset should kind of be like, forgive the analogy, but it should kind of be like you go down to the toy shop and you buy a toy. If I want to sell that toy to somebody else, I can do that. Is it going to be less money? Yeah, maybe. Digital assets, sometimes it might be more money. It could be a collectible that I've purchased and I could sell it for more. So I'm a big believer in that. And I know there's a lot of the Web3, just off on a tangent, the Web3 and like blockchain, NFTs, things like this. I know there's a lot of people who abuse that technology, and therefore a lot of people call it a scam. They call it whatever, but they're the people who are abusing the technology. The technology itself is really quite interesting, and I'm a big believer in it, and I can't wait to get Earth 2 into that solution that so many people are building all over the world. So many developers are working to this Web3 and the different blockchains and proof of stake and what have you. So that's how centralized gaming platforms work, and for me personally, that doesn't interest me. I'm kind of obsessed with creating ways for players to be able to create things, be creative, and then sell that to other players if that player wants to buy it. And the holy grail for me is that those things that they're selling also have utility and purpose inside of Earth 2. So this is also very important.